Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for webinar number 14 in a series of webinars for small business navigating the impacts of COVID-19. I'm Barbara Coffey, Director of Economic Initiatives for the City of Tucson, and we have another great lineup of speakers for you today. Today, we shift the focus to a discussion with operators and experts affiliated with our startup and entrepreneurial facilities and co-working and incubation spaces. As always, we will take your questions as we go, so feel free to enter those in the chat box or the Q&A box. We'll get to as many of those as possible in our time together this afternoon. And we will keep all participants muted since we have a large number of attendees, but we will record the session and make it available for you tomorrow. You can find links to all previous webinars at connecttucson.com, and typically they're up there by noon tomorrow, so you will find links there. Let's get started. I'm going to introduce our first guest speaker, Casey Carrillo, Program Manager for the University of Arizona Center for Innovation at the Tech Parks. Casey is responsible for managing the Incubator's regional cohort-based programming. She's a graduate of the University of Arizona with a bachelor's in communications and a master's degree in higher education. She has worked at the McGuire Center for Entrepreneurship and the Eller College of Management before joining the UA Center for Innovation. Casey, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Barbara. So I'm going to share my screen so that we have some slides to go off of. Awesome.
Great.
Can you all see them?
Yes.
Great. Thank you so much for having me today. My name is Casey Carrillo, and I am a program manager with the University of Arizona Center for Innovation. So to start off, we like to kind of elaborate a little bit more about what we do at the University of Arizona Center for Innovation and how we fit in within the tech park. So this provides you all with a brief overview of the tech parks and where we fit in. So the tech parks has been with us for 25 years. There's over 50 different companies located at the tech parks, such as Raytheon, Citi, IBM, and Optum. It's over 1,300 acres, so it's a very large place. And not only do we have the location at Rita Road, but we also are starting to move the dirt at the bridges, which we're very excited about. It's a little bit closer to campus, right off of 36 in Keno. And so the University of Center for Innovation falls right into the heart of the tech parks. So this showcases what we are all about and how we fit into this network. So we are the hub of the Incubator network for the University of Arizona. So we work very closely with tech parks, but we also are really well connected to the University of Arizona through technology transfers, but also working with faculty and students, such as the McGuire Center for Entrepreneurship. And the third area that we're really closely related to is the community aspect. So we're all about the local community, how we can work together, partnering up with everyone on this call, and creating this great network available for all of our entrepreneurs. So to start off with, we really like going over just 3 different definitions and how we fit into this space. So we hear these 3 terms a lot when we're speaking with entrepreneurs: a co-working space, an accelerator, and an incubator. So I'll go a little more detail into each of these. So a co-working space is really a collaborative space where entrepreneurs can mix and mingle and learn more about what each other is working on, but there's no programming aspect tied to a co-working space. And then you have an accelerator, which is a competitive application, and they normally are very cohort-based. There is programming associated with accelerators, and there's also typically sometimes they have interest in investing in your business as well, and that's part of their business model. So then you have an incubator, and this is what we are at UACI. So we not only have office space for all of our clients, but we also offer diverse programming for our clients as well. So it really is a way for them to come in from the very beginning of their business and learn more about how to get their business off the ground. So we like to talk about the startup curve. And typically when we get businesses, they're right in this sweet spot. So a lot of businesses and entrepreneurs are really excited once they get an idea and they have all this enthusiasm, and then they realize it's going to be a ton of work. It's also going to cost a ton of money. And so it kind of curves back down. And this is the sweet spot where we like to see our clients who are entering the incubator, and this is where we work with them with our programming. So within our programming, we have a lot of different opportunities for our clients that ranges from mentoring sessions to workshops to different events that we host, and also SBIR support. This is our new fancy roadmap, which we are very excited to release and work with our clients on, and it goes through the different areas that we work really closely with our clients with, and there's a lot of different buckets. One thing that's important to note is that this is not a linear process. You can definitely be in customer discovery and you can be in different areas throughout this roadmap, and it's not a very strict process. You definitely grow. So within each area, we provide different programming opportunities. We also provide educational opportunities, and we really like to make sure our clients are learning. One thing that's really cool about this roadmap is that it is interactive. So we will be able to utilize this, and if you click on it, there's a check mark, which my boss, Eric Smith, is very excited about. And we are really excited to showcase this and what our programming is all about. So to touch on the people aspect for UACI, we have a mentor in residence, Steve Wood. We also are bringing on subject matter experts. So we are creating a diverse network for our entrepreneurs and our clients. We also have a science advisory council at our UACI building in Oro Valley. We have a range of staff members that help with our clients. We also provide interns for the different clients that are with our incubator. We also have resources within the community, other entrepreneurs and investors. So we really like to create a positive network for everyone that's involved within our incubator space. Awesome. So this provides a little more information about an overview of what we are doing in the different locations. So we are at the Tech Park at Reeder Road. We have a lot of different resources that varies from dry labs to wet labs to a prototyping lab, collaborative workspaces, and so forth. We also are building a new location at Oro Valley. The building is up and we are super excited to get clients in there as well. That's mainly focused for the biomedical field. And then we are moving dirt at the Bridges, which is also a great opportunity if you want to stay a little more closer to the center of Tucson. And then we are heavily involved in Vail and then also the city of Sarita. We also offer a soft landing program. So this is an opportunity for startups and other businesses outside of the United States to work with us. It's a 1-month-long program where we specialize the programming to really showcase what it's like to operate a business in the United States. That is currently put on pause due to COVID and everything that's happening in the world right now. It is a 1-month program. We also have other opportunities such as a program in Mexico. We're working really closely with the consulate over there. And so we really are trying to gain more connections on the global side and expand our programming. Just to highlight some other programming notes, we currently do have 24 startups within our incubator. We also recently were named a power connector for the American Made Solar Prize Challenge, which I'll get to in a little bit. We also worked with Perkins Coie on a sponsored launch program, and we currently have a sponsored launch program that applications are due pretty soon with the town of Sarita. And then finally, we are working with Pinal County and Nogales on different opportunities as well. So why are we all here? Due to COVID-19, we definitely have had to pivot within the last couple of months. We have gone completely virtual. As you all can see, I am working from home. Our whole team is working from home, and we are encouraging our startups to do the same and to really utilize online platforms so that we can stay well connected. We have noontime knowledge every Friday where we encourage our startups to hop on and they get a chance to chat with us. We also do targeted workshops during that time and do 15-minute discussions on different areas. We are also utilizing virtual tours for any clients that are interested. And we do like to note that throughout this process, we have not lost any startups yet. So we still have 24, which is really exciting for us. And we are just completely virtual, and we are there to help these clients succeed in any way possible. Like I mentioned earlier, we are a power connector with the American Made Challenge. This program is a handful. I could talk to you all for an hour about this program, but it's a really great opportunity to get involved into the solar and energy network within the United States. So we are one of 5 other power connectors, and we are involved in 4 different areas. We are involved in event management, recruitment, supporting the network, and also mentoring. So we're involved in a ton of different areas. This is one of the programs that is assigned to me, and I work with it on a daily basis, and we are super excited to become more involved, and it's a great way to showcase Southern Arizona to the whole United States. Lastly, just to wrap things up, we really like to showcase the different startups that we work with. They range all over the place. Desert Pearl Mushrooms has a mushroom business, but we're also really heavily involved in technology and biomedical, and we are here to serve them. So we're really proud of all the clients that are working with us, and we are here to serve this community and entrepreneurship within Southern Arizona. That is all I have for you all today. Any questions about UACI?
That's excellent. Thank you, Casey. You know, I was thinking about, and especially as you talk about not only your operations, but then the startups that you serve, what have you noticed in terms of any pivots that some of your startups may have had to do during this time? Is it, you know, are they experiencing, you know, a different environment in terms of maybe where they're coming from? What have you noticed?
Definitely. So we've had some startups in particular look at pivoting to utilize their technology within the COVID realm. So looking at how can they serve the need for what we have going on right now. So there has definitely been pivots in that sense and adapting to certain situations. Also, the incubator is pretty quiet. Most of our startups are working from home, and they're really utilizing this time to take a step back and realizing that there are different resources that we can utilize virtually. So I think a lot of our startups are adapting, and they might even be adapting their technology, but they're still working on their businesses and utilizing us as a resource.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate that. Thanks for your comments today and being part of this panel. So I'm going to keep us rolling because we've got a full afternoon, and we'll keep those questions coming though. So if you have them, go ahead and write them in the chat box or send them through Q&A. Next up, Dre Thompson, Executive VP at Startup Tucson and the Festival Director for the 10 West Impact Festival. Dre has a diverse background in community development, research and education, startup businesses, and also creative entrepreneurship. In her professional background, Dre has owned her own creative agency. She's been a professor at New York University Department of Population Health, and she's been a researcher at the Chicago-based social science think tank, Chapin Hall. Dre has a master's degree in social science from the University of Chicago and currently serves as the governance chair on the board of Tucson Young Professionals. Dre, it's all you.
Hey, hello everyone. Thank you so much, Barbara, for inviting me. It is such a delight to be on this panel with all these amazing women who are at the forefront of innovating in our city. So I am going to talk a little bit about Startup Tucson if you aren't aware of us and the services that we have. And then I also kind of wanted to share a little bit about what we've been doing during COVID, because we have been busy. We have been doing a lot of things. So I will just quickly share this. Okay, sorry, it's a little messy right here when we go to the present. Okay. All right, So, Startup Tucson. Startup Tucson is a nonprofit organization. We really exist to support entrepreneurs in our community. We do this through education. We do this through free networking events. We do this through a free membership program, free mentoring, coaching, subject matter experts, and connections. And you'll notice a lot of what we do is free or low cost because we believe that entrepreneurship really needs to be accessible to everyone. And that's a really critical part of economic development of our region, but also making sure that we're not leaving talent on the table. So we really focus on increasing the diversity, the number and quality of entrepreneurs that are sort of moving through our system. With all our different partners here, we sort of are kind of positioned as the sort of welcoming front door. So if you're new to town or you're new to entrepreneurship, we're a great place to start to kind of get a sense of what's going on in the community, where's my best fit. And if you're not part of our newsletter, we do a weekly bulletin and we include a lot of different events that are going on. So that's a great resource for you. And we haven't launched it yet, but we are on the very verge of launching a digital resource guide for folks where you'll be able to, in a really user-friendly way, search of all the different resources that are in the startup specific community. And so that's kind of something that we're looking forward to launching soon. We get a lot of questions about who is it that we serve. Primarily, we serve first-time founders, small businesses, and also scaling ventures. And so we create some custom services for that. So for our first-time founders, we have a program called Startup Fundamentals, and that really breaks up the basics of business from our 101, 102, 103, 104. That's all launching. They've been going, they're now virtual now. We do a Startup 101 every single month. And so that's a really great place to start if you don't know, you're just starting a business or you have an idea, you've done a business in the past, but this is a new idea and you kind of want to workshop it. That's a great place for you. We also have small businesses support. So we really are kind of a connector. So some of the services, if we're not personally serving that, we're going to connect you to the people at the city or SBDC or other partners who are really focusing on that. And then scaling ventures, we work on kind of the early stage. And then really our hope and goal is to make sure that you knock it out of the park and get into some of our awesome incubators and accelerators, some represented here on this call. And something else that we're launching is we've seen a large need for corporate innovation. So organizations that are in existence but are looking to shake it up, looking to pivot, the keyword of the hour. So we have a number of sort of advanced workshops and different services if you're an organization and you're looking to try out a new plan, try out a new structure, try a new project management technique. So that's something that's been rolling out. If you're a mentor, if you're experienced, we have a mentor and advisory program. We'd love to connect with you in that. And then obviously, if you're a supporter, we have tons of needs as a nonprofit, and we could not do it without the support of the many different partner organizations and mentors and advisors and all of our different partners that really support the work that we do and make it so that we can stay accessible. If I had to kind of summarize what is the services that we do, we help you reduce the risks of starting a business. There's so many inherent risks already to starting a business, especially now. So we really want to focus on, okay, how can we build smarter? How can we be data-driven? How can we make sure that you're not taking unnecessary risks, that you're planning, you're doing experimentation, you know your customers inside and out. And that's really a lot of the focus of the work that we do so that you can be successful and happy and less stressed as an entrepreneur. That's really where we try to focus our services. Kind of the roadmap of our services is we have this 101 series that I talked about. Once you take the 101, you can become a member. It's a free membership program. It comes with monthly free coaching and connection services. We have a bunch of members only resources and services and supplies. All those 101 courses are all $10. So they again, kind of, you can go at your own pace and you can pop in when you're ready to learn more about your customers, start validating your ideas. And then we have a cool program where we have a fast track to funding expansion with Community Investment Corporation. So if you take this full course, you'll actually get a fast track to funding through Community Investment Corporation. So that's really exciting. And then everything that we do is, it's $11,000 worth of value estimated, but you can do it for less than 100 because of all of the support that we get. Okay. should I pause there? Do people have questions on that before I talk about all the new things we've been doing, or just keep on rolling?
I think roll through it.
All right, cool. Let's do it. Okay, so, besides the very basics of just flipping everything online, we've been trying to be really mindful of what are the additional needs and supports that companies are needing right now, especially, and we've been focusing on this digital divide. So a lot of micro entrepreneurs and small businesses always had in the back of their mind, okay, I want to get online, I want to expand my digital reach, but it just never got to the forefront. Obviously now it is on the forefront. So kind of immediately right after, things shut down, we started a website called TucsonShopsTucson.com. And we got a bunch of different organizations on there so you can shop locally. And then it's also an education tool. So if you are an organization who, or a company or a small business that isn't really confident with your e-commerce site, we actually will support you in helping to navigate that process. So it's educational, and then from the consumer side, it's a really user-friendly, fun way to shop local. So that was one of our initial responses. And then we also noticed that we get so many questions about people, how do I do social media? How do I use my newsletters better? So many new questions about how to utilize technology for your businesses. So we started a really fun, it's a 15-minute tips on Fridays. It's called Startup Bites. And they just really succinctly tell you what are the tips that you need to focus on as you're kind of bridging this digital divide. And those are all available on our website and on Facebook. I think our final one is this Friday, but you can view all the past ones there. The other thing that we've been really trying to focus on is what is the role of small businesses and entrepreneurship in economic development? And we see that, so much of job creation is done by small businesses. And so we really want to think about pro-entrepreneurship. So we started a kind of a more geeky, you saw my bio, I'm really into geeky nerd data stuff. So we started a little thing called Innovation Economics. And we are focusing on bringing national and international speakers to talk about topics that are super relevant to economics development as it relates to entrepreneurship. So that's been a really fun series. We just did our second one with an organization out of New Orleans that had a ton to say about how they survived Hurricane Katrina and what their economy was like after, and the parallels between now and then. So that's super interesting. There's a blog coming out with that, and also a video. And then last week we had, just in response to this national conversation that we're having on the role of Black businesses, and we wanted to focus on that. So we had, this was led by Kanisha Raymond, our program manager, and also the owner of Blissful Creatives. And she led a Black business town hall and had some really interesting insights from community leaders about what are additional supports that Black-owned businesses really need in this time. So that blog is actually being posted today. So if you go to our website, you'll be able to see kind of our the video of the actual town hall, and then sort of our summary notes, and then what were some of the commitments that we made as an organization, and then also what the panelists, the commitments that they made to their own community too. So we've been kind of fast and furious, but really trying to hone into what are customers needing right now, and how can we fit that need as quickly and as adaptively as we can. And that's good for us, because that's what we train entrepreneurs and startups to do. And so we're doing it ourselves. So if you have any questions or any kind of follow-up, please don't hesitate to email me. I feel like I just kind of fire hosed it at you, but that's what we've been doing in 6 months and 7 minutes.
That's right. No, I appreciate that. We've all been working fast and furious, and the information changes minute by minute, so we've had to adapt ourselves at every chance. But I thought about, because you said the word customers, and it reminded me. So as you are working with startups, what advice do you have for those businesses that are trying to find customers or clients right now? How do they go about that? Is it different than the way they might have approached business development before? What do you think?
Yeah, okay, so that's been really interesting, and we've done actually some research on this, because we're saying, okay, you got to know your customer, but then everybody's customers started totally changing, and consumer behaviors were totally different. And so the challenge now is, okay, we can sort of pin down what are the consumer behaviors that have changed now, but really kind of looking into what are the ones that are going to continue after that. So some really interesting research that we found is 46% of consumers say that they believe their consumer behaviors have changed permanently as a result of COVID. And so we have, I have a presentation on that, and also another blog where you can kind of go in and see what are the takeaways from that, because that's been really interesting. So kind of the snapshot of that is that when they've looked at all different types of consumers, some consumers aren't spending at all, but actually another segment are spending. And so really trying to focus on who are your customers who are the best and most well-positioned to actually use your services right now, and how can you target and message and really connect with what they are wanting. Because some people are, you know, in any type of economic pinch, which we are going to be and are now, there's going to be some customers who are not going to be as looking for your services. So there's going to be a shift in your customer base, but that doesn't mean that there is no customers. There are customers. It's a matter of really honing in. Some quick takeaways on them. They have been, folks have been really looking for organizations that connect with the values that they support. And people are more interested than ever in shopping local. So that's great news for local businesses. And then there's also some language and demographics. So you might really, it's really about understanding who they are, tailoring your message to connect with them. And if you have to adapt some of your services to make sure that you're hitting on those things that they want, look at your resource pool, look at what resources you have, and see if you can create some services that really meet the needs of that target population that is out there and is wanting to find your business and is wanting to support you.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think, and you have, you know, the most value add, right? All the programming and the support that you're going to help businesses find those customers, refine what that looks like and how to target them is available, right, in terms of what Startup Tucson offers. And it's such a great value. So I appreciate that. Thanks, Dre, for being here. We're going to keep rolling. I'm going to introduce Anna Darian. She manages the Startup Business Incubation Programs for Arizona Forge at ROI Place, the new innovation hub in downtown Tucson under the direction of the University of Arizona's Research, Innovation, and Impact Department. On the side, she runs her own story coaching practice, specializing in helping entrepreneurs become more engaging speakers by leveraging the power of their story. Past clients include the Nordic Innovation House Female Founders School and Runway Innovation Hub from the Bay Area. Prior to this, she served with the City of Phoenix Economic Development Team, leading strategic revitalization and transit-oriented development projects. She holds a bachelor's degree in political science from the University of Arizona and a master's in urban planning and policy from the American University of Beirut. Now I introduce you, Anna.
Thank you. And note to self, shorten my bio. No. Also, other note to self, can I just like never follow Dre in a panel ever? How could you do this to me? But yes, no, it is, it's awesome for me to be here, both to be able to share what's going on in our services, but then also just getting caught up on what everybody else is doing. It's really humbling and definitely makes me want to grow my to-do list. So yes, so as you mentioned, I work with Arizona Forge. I will go ahead and share the screen as others have, and hopefully everything works. Okay. And then of course the window is always right where I don't need it to be. Okay. So Arizona Forge, we also sit within the U of A network, and we are, as of recently, an acronym. We stand for Finding Opportunities and Resources to Grow Entrepreneurs. So there's two facets to Forge. There's the U of A side of it. We are within the Research, Innovation, and Impact Department at the university. And so we have a whole student-facing component where we run events and different innovation-focused challenges and meetups for students. I will just go ahead and leave all of that aside because for the purposes of this conversation, I really want to focus this conversation on entrepreneurship and Tucson and what is available here. So I sit within the other side of Forge, which is the Forge Ahead. And we are the branch of it that's more location-based. We are beyond the campus walls. We definitely want to be out in the community, creating entrepreneurship tools in wherever U of A has a presence. So the first location is where I'm based out of, which is the ROI Place location. Now I say location in quotations because there's no such thing as locations anymore. We cannot meet in places. But in theory, we opened in March of this year. Our innovation focus at this location is in digital health and resilience. And within this space, we have a startup business incubator, which is the programming that I run. And I'll talk a little bit more about what our programs are and the entrepreneurs that we serve. We are really focused on experiential education. So when we're able to fully build out and actually allow people into this space, we'll have a lot of different ways for people wherever they're at to really tap into learning by doing. That doesn't always mean you need to be the CEO of a company. For us, entrepreneurship is really about a mindset that is focused on solving problems and solving problems that matter to all of us. And it seems like problems are growing every day. So there's lots of opportunities to jump in and be creative with solutions. The other component of this is that we do have a corporate innovation component that brings in corporate sponsors to be actually co-located out of the space, working with students, working with startups. And so really, and I guess the last piece, very specific to the ROI Place location, is a community space and education space that once we're able to open fully, people can actually rent this and run events out of there. And really Forge it's less a set of services as much as it is sort of what happens when all of this comes together and we're able to actually create together and sort of ricochet off each other's creativity. So real quick about the space, and then I'll get into the programs. So this first location has 2 floors. Downstairs, we are so blessed to have people like Dre Thompson, as well as Liz with Startup Tucson operating out of our downstairs. We have that classroom I talked about. We will have a digital health lab. I almost want to cry as I'm talking about this, but this is also the home of 10 West. So all the programs there, this is really meant to be a front door to entrepreneurship in Tucson. It's in the heart of downtown Tucson. And really, I would say in terms of if you're an entrepreneur that's even thinking about an idea, this should really be a one-stop shop for you to be able to connect with Startup Tucson. And then the second piece of actually, hold on, I think the next picture is the actual, the space itself. So very much a space where people can come in and congregate and let ideas flourish. And for entrepreneurs that really want to take that next step, so we later call this the post-idea stage. So once you've been able to think through it, work with Startup Tucson, I cannot stress that enough. No matter where you're at in business, you should be connected to Startup Tucson. But once you're able to get to a place where you say, this has got some teeth to it, I am willing to make an investment of, at a minimum, my time, most likely more like your money, or maybe money of friends and family around you, and you want to take that next step and be working on your business more full-time, that's where you get to come upstairs, and that's where you work with me. So this is where the Startup Business Incubator and the Forge programming really happens, is on the second floor. There's also a lot of boardroom meeting spaces, classroom spaces that, again, when we're able to meet, can be utilized. So a little bit of how that looks like. If you're familiar with Tucson, this is Stone. So we've got the library across the way. We've got the courthouse. It's a stunning space for entrepreneurs to be working. A couple other shots. Okay, so now our programs. So effectively, it's easy to call Forge an incubator, or at least the programming that I'm talking about is an incubator. Where we work with entrepreneurs is, like I said, this idea of a post-idea stage. We are looking at high potential scalable companies. So scalable does not mean that you need to be tech-based, but it does mean that you are creating more than one of your things. So not service-based businesses, consultants, coaches, makers, things like that. So we've got one team I'll talk about soon, which is a real estate company. So not tech-based at all, but they have plans to grow into other cities. And the way that people, if they're in any way interested in being incubated at Forge, the way to do that is through this accelerated entry program, which is a program we run 3 times a year. It's 8 weeks of rigorous in-person business development curriculum that really teaches you this foundations of what does it mean to build a scalable company? What are the things what does the team look like, the market? How do you need to be thinking about your scaling so that you are, not growing one side of your business, focusing on one area when you're leaving off something else. And so we're currently in our second round of doing this, and we are doing it all virtually. This has not slowed things down. So we run this program 3 times a year. We select up to 12 teams to participate in this. And then from there, we select on average 3 teams that we invite to work out of the incubator itself. So like I mentioned, we're on the second round. So this was a sampling of our first round. This is the teams that went through it in January and February of this year. It was really exciting. We were just learning together. It's just amazing to see what happens when people come together and just really work on their business for a couple months. And just, it was amazing. I wish I had a whole other segment to just talk about that. So for the 3 teams that we invite into the incubator, you get to work out of Forge. Even now, even in the virtual space, you can still work out of Forge for up to 3 years. We are valuing our programs at $50,000 a year. And what that really means is beyond just being able to work out of the space when it's available, you get to work with us one-on-one with our network. It's not a program where we develop curriculum that everybody goes through. We really work with people one-on-one to establish the appropriate mentors and experts and coaches that make sense for you and where you need to be scaling and going. And if that means connecting with investors and different funding sources, we absolutely can do those connections. And really cannot stress enough how much working alongside of a cohort of other high-performing teams is really valuable. I facilitate a mastermind monthly with our teams now, and I barely talk. They just are going at each other in the best way possible, throwing out whether they have challenges. Everybody's got ideas. It's unbelievable the amount of resources that people have been able to pin down and then bring it back to each other, and they love supporting each other. So it's been amazing to see what has continued. So effectively, the Forge Incubator goes from what we're calling vision to establishing your product market fits. And when you're ready to scale, and that could mean your team is scaling to the point where it makes sense for you to get your own office, or you're going into different verticals, different products, it really doesn't make sense for you to work out of an incubator at that point. That's when we wish you well and send you on your merry way. And because we're within the university network, a common question we get is, what makes you different? Because as you've heard, we've got amazing resources with UACI, as well as a lot of other co-working spaces that you can tap into. And I will just say real briefly that we do partner with Village Capital, which is a global accelerator investment company out of DC, and we license their curriculum as well as their model. And part of that model is what we're calling peer due diligence, where absolutely every component of our program is contingent upon getting feedback from your peers, both within the accelerated entry as well as the incubator. And we really, truly mean this in terms of valuing your peers as being as much experts as any mentors or investors. We really feel that everybody has got a lot to provide. And then this is also how we make our decisions. When I talked about selecting the 3 teams that move into the incubator, this is through a peer ranking process where the teams actually over the course of 8 weeks learn how to do due diligence as an investor would. And they actually do the ranking and give us their opinions about where they think the teams are going to go. And not only is this a different way to make decisions, to move the decisions out of just the hands of a few, but Village Capital has been using this format in their investment decisions. So they're actually giving hard money based on this. And we've seen that it completely shifts, moves away from this bias where investors who, let's be honest, are typically white men, are investing in people that look like them predominantly. And there's plenty of statistics to substantiate this. And so it's a way to actually mitigate for a lot of bias. Talk a lot about that. Real quick, I'll round out talking about our current teams. So we currently have 2 teams working out of our incubator virtually. So we have Stackhouse, which is our first team. Love this venture. For anybody who's been around the Tucson startup ecosystem for any amount of time, they will know them well. But this is a real estate venture that makes container homes that can be literally shipped up and taken to another city when you're ready to relocate. Really cool, affordable way of thinking of living downtown. All of their projects are planned to be in downtown spaces, the first one being in Tucson. And I'll give a shameless plug for their WeFunder right now. They just launched an equity crowdfunding campaign, and they are currently, I guess, at 78,000 as of this screenshot. So if you don't know anything about WeFunder, all I'll say is that this is an opportunity for you to invest in startups, but in a way where you get an actual return on investment, assuming they do well, unlike a sort of GoFundMe where it's just a donation. And so this is a really interesting way for anybody who's interested in investing in the startup community, but you're never going to get to like an angel investing level. Literally for $100, you can actually become a startup investor and really start to change how decisions are made around startup funding. And then our second team, real quick, is Ellie Optics. They create software to help optical engineers collaborate, get their products made right the first time, and design the future of light technology. Direct copy and paste from them. Really strong team coming out of the university. Both of Isaac and Logan are optical engineers out of the university, and it's been just amazing. I will say, if we're going to talk about pivots and COVID, they have not slowed down at all. They're getting ready to go out for their seed round of funding. They're launching their prototype of their software, and they are just like steady. I am so in awe of how they've continued to work. And if anything, there are things that have been on the back burner that they're now able to bring to the forefront, because they've been able to tap into different talent around the world to help them build their prototype. So really blessed to get to see these teams in action. And I could go on about them forever, but I'll stop there. Any questions for me, feel free to reach me at adarin@arizona.edu. We are going to be opening our next round of the Accelerated Entry Program, probably applications opening September, then running that October, November. You can learn a little bit more about the program there at forge.arizona.edu/apply. And you can get on the newsletter there to make sure you know when that comes out.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Anna. I tend to still see in each one of your remarks the value of mentorship, the relationships that you can build that not only bring you that technical assistance, but the possibility of financial assistance as well. And so I really think the strength of our entrepreneurial ecosystem is showing up in that way. And that's been a missing ingredient, I think, for a lot of communities, is not having that access to capital that comes with building those relationships. So I appreciate your comments and thoughts on that. And that means there's just a lot of ways for our folks to get involved, if on the mentoring side, as well as just being a small business and trying out their new ideas. So I will, we'll keep taking questions. So if you have them, make sure you write them in the chat box. I'm gonna bring it over to Gina Catalano. She's an author and business coach who works with high growth CEOs to improve their operations and increase the value of their business. Gina is often referred to as the CEO's Swiss Army knife. That is her quote. Well, someone who wrote your bio, but I think that probably for good reason. With over 20 years of experience leading and working with businesses, she's authored 2 Amazon bestsellers, Tandem Leadership, How Your Number 2 Can Make You Number 1, and Changing Lanes, The Owner's Guide to a Successful Exit. She currently volunteers for Startup Tucson's Thrive Mentorship Program and is a member of the Idea Funding Committee associated with 10 West Impact Festival. She holds a BA in Math from the University of California, Santa Barbara, and a Master of Public Administration from California State University, East Bay. Gina, thanks. I'm so glad you could join us, and I'm excited to hear about your Swiss Army knife, moniker, but also about your affiliation with the local projects that you have going on, La Suprema Works and Anexo. So again, happy to welcome you, Gina.
Thanks so much for having us all here. It's been really fun. I was reflecting how the last 2 years, so much has happened in the last 2.5, 3 years in Tucson, and it's been really all for the better. And I think, while none of us really wanted COVID to happen, the fact that, UACI, Forge, Startup Tucson, City of Tucson, with being innovative with economic development, is going to make the difference from, I think, a lot of folks being able to go through this and be successful later on. I don't have slides, but I'm going to share the screen from our website because it'll give you something to look at that's pretty. So let me just go there. And so about 2.5 years ago, my business partner and I, Katina Kohler, who has a very illustrious career in building and selling businesses. She's an investor. She's really engaged as well with Startup Tucson. She's on the board of Startup Tucson. She's also a commercialization partner with Tech Launch Arizona, She's a member of Desert Angels. I mean, I could go on and on. And a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, last spring, we started getting engaged a little bit with some of the startups outside. We both work with a lot of mature businesses, and a couple of folks asked us to come help them, and we got hooked, and frankly got hooked big. And we started 2 years ago in March or April, we started looking for co-working spaces. And at first it was going to be, we're just going to find some space to lease and have a little co-working operation. And we just couldn't ever find that space. And we ended up at La Suprema, which for those of you that are longtime Tucson residents, La Suprema was most recently known for being a tortilla factory here in Barrio Viejo. We're just a block south of the Tucson Convention Center. And fun fact, we have people stopping in once or twice a week looking for tortillas. So we actually are trying to find an entrepreneur that might want to assist us with that. But you know, about a year and a half ago, we closed on the building, and as it is with a lot of old renovation projects, it took a little bit longer. And I think co-working is really important. Tucson, up until just recently, this last year, was really what I would call under co-worked, because co-working is a vital part of progressive ecosystems. I think Casey had talked a little bit about you know, if you look at WeWork or some of the other ones that maybe don't give co-working the best name, it's basically a real estate play where they're trying to shove people into offices. The most progressive, the best parts of co-working are people that co-working that strives to be a place, either virtually or in person. We did not, I am actually at La Suprema. I have not stopped coming to work because our people have not stopped coming to work. We have about 25 members. We opened an XO about a year ago. It was our minimally viable product to start figuring out how this is going to work. And we ended up leasing a small little 1,500 square foot building across the street from La Suprema, and that became an XO Works. And through that, we ended up starting to develop our programming and our sort of our sense of who we were trying to serve. And interestingly enough, in March, when everything went down, our folks really stepped up. We were supposed to be open then, but we ended up opening, got a little delay. We opened the last week of April. And our members who are range from, we have social workers, we have real estate, we have CPAs, we have computer programmers, we have full enterprise businesses, we have a whole variety of different folks. We have a whole bunch of different like freelance type entrepreneurs, and it was really awesome. We knew that a lot of people needed to go online right away, and so within the month of May, we ended up doing 4 consecutive weeks of virtual programming. Basically, it was all around get your business online, because all of a sudden there was all these brick and mortar businesses here in Tucson that are like restaurants and retail operations that had products that people needed. And it was so awesome for our members to give their time. And we had, I think we had like over 50 people at all these virtual workshops that we just threw together that was super high content. And I think that's the value of the people that show up in our community. One of the things that I was doing some research today, and you know, the Harvard Business Review said that when they did some research that co-working enterprise businesses that locate in co-working have a higher employee satisfaction than folks that work either at the office or even from home, because they still want community and they're surrounded by people that are really dedicated to their jobs. I think somebody once quoted from one of our members said, the reason I like going to the our co-working space is that when I've worked in a job before, not all my coworkers were dedicated to working hard and being successful. When you're in a co-working space, everybody that's there wants to be successful, and you feed off that energy. Especially, you know, being an entrepreneur isn't for the faint of heart, or a business owner. Lots of stuff. It's not always an easy journey, and having other folks to help you, which you can see by this panel today, there's lots of opportunity to get assistance in this community, more than I think there's ever been, and I think will continue to be. Coworkers, people who work in co-working space see their work as meaningful, so they're looking for other folks that see that, and they're looking for community that they may not get. I mean, everyone talks a lot about the, the freelance or the gig economy, but at the end of the day, and I think most of us that have had to spend any time at home, we miss our people, right? In virtual, we miss that place. I think what's going to be vital moving forward because of COVID and the pivots is that one of the things that I think happened out of the Black Town Hall that Startup Tucson supported and worked on with Kenesha leading that is that there were so many businesses that people weren't aware that were here in town. I have to tell you, for somebody that worked in economic development actually doing outreach in my past life, there are so many more businesses that people aren't aware of, and everybody's path to assistance or finding their community is different. So if you're a tech startup that came out of the University of Arizona, Forge or the UACI could be your place, because you're going to get the resources you need. You're going to find your people that have some of the same challenges. If you're somebody that's starting off and you have a new idea to spin something off, both in your current organization, Startup Tucson could be your place to start. And I think trying to find your community is really important, more than anything else. 2 years ago, there was basically one co-working space in town, and now we have, I think, 6 to 10, all different sizes, all different flavors, and for a lot of different reasons, and all over town, right? I mean, we have a big, and it's a long drive from Marana to Vail. So, if you live up in Marana, you want to be up north. If you live over on the east side, and if you're downtown. So I think continually developing all these relationships and having events like this that show people what to do. Real quickly, Katina and I both do a little bit. We also have a mastermind. It's called the E-Forum, and we work with companies to do that. I'll quick share that. I don't know. Can you guys see that? This is,
yes.
Yep. So these are our company. We started it last year because there really wasn't something before Forge, the Do the Mastermind, and some of the stuff that Startup Tucson has done. There really wasn't to do this in a mastermind. And so we have folks that actually came out of the university, are over at UACI, have gone through Startup Tucson programs. And I think and actually we lost, I think one of our members a couple of our members here and also at the co-working space went through the Forge program. So what's awesome about this is that I think it gives us the opportunity to create lots of different layers and connections that we can try showing. We really are big on building a bigger pie. I think that, we need to build the biggest pie that we can. And I think Tucson really stands at the precipice right now. Big cities are not always what people are cracked up to be, especially if you don't have to live there and you don't want to live there. The de-densifying that I think could occur, and it's showing up in a lot of the research right now, we're really poised to be part of that. Co-working is going to be a really important part of attracting remote workers into the community. They have high-paying jobs. They like to contribute. They like to be engaged. They need to find a place to replace their work family. And so I think knowing that we can do that and we can all keep connecting each other through these kinds of events and other events, I think is really important. One of the things, Dane Stangler, who used to be with Startup Genome, he worked for the Kauffman Foundation, and he's doing a lot of research right now on obviously post-COVID, and he wrote an article for Forbes, and one of the things he said is that after COVID, people are going to be starving for in-person connection, and so it's going to be up for us, all of us in this room, to figure out how to create more and more connections for people in ways that are semi-virtual or virtual. And I think that if we can do that, we can make sure that people who want assistance can find it, people who are connecting other people to each other, and that we can keep strengthening the Tucson business community across the board. So we're super excited to be part of it, be part of the programming. And also I think the other thing that we do is connect businesses that typically don't see themselves part of the startup ecosystem. But a lot of them just love finding those kinds of connections. And I think the more that we can do that, we can strengthen things across the board. So
Awesome.
I think I talked.
Oh, that's fantastic, Gina. You said a lot of great things. You know, I think about the layers comment and just the fact that, you know, we often get this question like, is what we're doing overlapping or redundant to someone else? And I say the more the merrier. You want those options, you want that variety, and you want people to have choice and a place to fit in, as you mentioned. And sometimes it's geographic, and other times it's just the right fit or the right style, or just there's so many different things, or the level of assistance. Sometimes you need a lot more help, and then other times you're more independently inclined. And so I just applaud the efforts really from all of our speakers today and their organizations, because I think that that is a really important piece. And you know, you also said something about this virtual environment, and as we even think about not only just our businesses out there, but our own organizations, we've been doing some virtual and remote activity with the webinars. And how much of that do we keep going? I mean, and you may have some insights on that as you're coaching business. You know, we've been focused on short-term and immediate response. What do we need to do to create maybe a hybrid model going forward? And what do we need to be doing to think long-term? What are your thoughts?
Well, you know, that's really interesting. We've been polling our members because we had, day one, we had members that were still going to come to work. They either have big families and there's too much chaos. We actually, the number of people that we've had walking in here or contacting us because they realize in order for their productivity to move forward, it's working at home isn't going to work for them. And so I think we're going to have to do that. I think businesses, I think businesses are going to have to really deal with physical distance requirements in their in their locations. Katina and I both been talking to companies about how to do that, have flexible schedules. We're a self-contained building. Because we were very old, everything in here now is all brand new. And there was nothing that we kept the character as best we could, but we have all new everything. And so one of the things that's getting put in this week is a system that filtration, it's an air purifier system that will supposedly kill COVID. And so we're doing that as an investment because this is the long haul. People are going to expect to be safe when they go to work, as safe as they can. And I think, I think that's going to be a lot of flexibility, but I think people have to think that their employees and the people that their clients have to be using all the precautions that we know of right now. And it's going to be a mix. And that's what we're seeing here. We have people that are meeting with people in person because there's certain things that you got to do in person. And so, we're helping do that, but we are putting in a lot of work on cleaning. Never had to clean so much in my life. And so, but you know what? Safety is really important. And so we're just going to keep working down that model until we know that we're past this.
Fantastic. Well, any final remarks from anyone? I know we've had a good discussion and we always have an engaged audience, so I appreciate that. And we make our recordings available, so you'll be able to view this. Again, I want to thank our panelists. Thank you all for participating today and sharing your wisdom and what's happening in your organizations. So it's time to wrap up. I will tell you, we're going to take next Monday off just to give you an elongated holiday. Maybe you're at home, but I hope you still celebrate. Mark your calendar to be back with us on July 13th at 3 p.m. and you'll have an email invite in your inbox so you can register then. It's our goal to keep you connected to the resources as you navigate this pandemic. And don't forget, you can call our City of Tucson Economic Initiative Small Business Hotline at 520-837-4100 and check connecttucson.com for resources, or make sure you subscribe to our newsletter there. So with that, again, I want to thank everyone. We had some amazing ladies today. And we have lots of good thank yous from the audience. So I appreciate you all.